Shabbat Shalom, friends. We're so delighted that you're here with Congregation Kol Ami from West Hollywood in our online streaming Shabbat service. I'm Rabbi Denise Eger, and leading worship with me tonight is Rabbi Max Chaikin. We're delighted that you've joined in, and that was a beautiful piece of music by Rick Recht, Hinema Tovu Manayim, based from the Book of Psalms, played by the ever-wonderful Lisa Edwards. And we are glad that you're here on this Shabbat, Parshat Ve'et Hanan. It has a special name, known as Shabbat Nachamu, after this week's Haftarah from the book of Isaiah. Nachamu, Nachamu, et ami. Comfort, comfort my people. We read this always in the Shabbat following Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which we observed on Wednesday night and all day Thursday, commemorating the National Jewish Day of Mourning for the first and second temples and many other tragedies. And so if you're like me, I need comfort by the time Shabbat comes. As the week winds down and comes to an end, the stresses of the week and are particularly difficult in this time when we here in Los Angeles are still pretty much sheltered in place in many ways as the virus continues to be fairly out of control here. And so it's a stressful time. And so let us take comfort in the words of tradition, in the melodies of our people as we bring hope and joy and renewal to one another. And so let us sing a new song together. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, the word music by Julie Silver, as Rabbi Chaikin leads us in these words from the Psalms.
Page 648 in Mishkan Tefillah, our 4-movement prayer book. Of course, you can find a free flipbook version at ccarpress.org. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. I will sing a new song unto God.
We invite now Duke Marine to lead us in the blessings for our Shabbat candles. Duke is a leader in our Open Yad project, our 20s and 30s group here at Kol Ami. Duke?
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot and commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu you're at home and you have a Kiddush cup or a glass of wine or grape juice, I invite you now to lift it high, turning to page 123, as we join together to hallow Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל עמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים.
L'chaim. Page 138. We continue now with L'cha Dodi, greeting Shabbat as our beloved come back to us this week. Thank you again, Duke, for honoring us with your presence and your leadership in lighting our Shabbat candles. Page 138. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Mikabela. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Kabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishme'anu el hamiluchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Mikabela. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Mikabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orech kumi ori. Uri, uri, shir daberi, kvod Adonai, alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Kabela. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Kabela. Boi v'shalom עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצורה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, Shabbat Kabela. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Kabela.
We take some time now to wish those you are with in your home Shabbat Shalom, or if you are by yourself in your space, text somebody or write in the chat on Facebook or on YouTube. For those of you watching, send a Shabbat greeting to someone you care about, and we wish each of you a Shabbat Shalom too. As we said at the beginning of our service, this Shabbat Nachamu, Parshat Ve'etchanan, and in this week's Torah portion are some key important points, and I know Rabbi Chaikin's going to speak a little bit about that later, but in this week's Parsha is where we find the Shema prayer, the prayer that states our faith, our belief in one God, that we as the Jewish people have an obligation to tune in, to pay attention, to listen, to hear, not just to hear the sound, but to understand, to comprehend, and to know what that oneness is. And as we recite the words of Shema together tonight, page 152 and 153 in your Siddur of Mishkan Tefillah, we think about this Shabbat Nachamu, this time of thinking about crying out for comfort. How comforting are the words of the Shema, words that are on our lips when we rise in the morning and when we go to bed at night, words that have been said by our ancestors throughout the generations, words that we should wrap ourselves in and around with to feel God's oneness and God's presence. And so we join together in the Shema.
Israel, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai, Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Vaed. On page 154, we continue now singing together these translation of Ve'ahavta, set to melody by Debbie Friedman. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, when you rise up. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hands, and they shall be a symbol between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Our ancestors so long ago left Egypt for the promised land. They did so leaving slavery behind, oppression, and marched on their journey towards freedom. We too are on a journey. It's 7 weeks to the Jewish New Year. Tisha B'Av helps us think about and marks that time towards the new year, towards rebuilding of our faith and renewal of our lives once again as the gates of heaven open. And so as we take this journey, we, our Kol Ami this year, will be taking a journey of the heart. Since much of our travel is curtailed through the pandemic, we will still be on a journey to renew and refresh our spirits, a journey to renew and refresh our hearts and our souls. And so as we think about the journeys of our ancestors, let us prepare ourselves mentally and spiritually for the weeks ahead as we look towards a new year of renewal and hope and redemption, just as our ancestors did at the shores of the sea. Mi Chamocha, page 158.
Adonai Yimlo Leolam Vaed, Adonai Yimlo Leolam Vaed. Yai Rai 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 Rai.
In this theme of comfort on this Shabbat, the Hashkivenu prayer is that prayer of comfort and peace at night. So we join together on page 160. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, v'tachnenu be'etzah tova milfanecha, v'oshienu l'ma'an shemecha v'agen ba'adenu, v'haser me'aleinu oyev, dever, v'cherev, v'ra'av, v'yagon, v'charchech mimenu avon v'fesha, uvtzel kenafecha tasdirenu, ki el shomreinu matzilenu ata, Ushmor tseitenu uvoenu lechayim ulishalom me'atavi ad olam Baruch ata Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, O guardian, to our life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace, and guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings, and defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing, for you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and our coming to life and to peace evermore. Praised are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Yerushalayim. Amen.
Amen. And we turn from that source of protection, hopefully into the joy of rest and renewal on this Shabbat. The top of page 162, I invite you to sing along with me at home. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. On page 164, we'll begin our tefillah together with these words of intention from Psalm 51, that God will open our lips and our mouth will sing praises. We begin together on page 164 and continue independently with the words of our Siddur through page 180, or with the words of your heart. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך.
As we always do at this time, we take a few moments to remember and to honor and to bless those in need of healing in our community, in our family, among our friends. Especially important in this time of the coronavirus pandemic, because all of our thoughts are on all those thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world who are suffering from this unknown virus. And so we say together these words: Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, God and God of our ancestors, grant your healing blessing to all who call upon you in their hour of need. In our community, we're naming aloud tonight Gary Ashland and Richard Bernard and Vivian Bernard, Elaine Blatt, Jim Bloomer, Dan Bennell, Bella Browning, Nada Charina, Dale Cooley, Phyllis Ehrlich, Richard Frank, Ashley Gallagher, Hope Faust, Tino Felipe, Sam Fibish DeWitt, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Lori Glickman, Alvin Gross, Daniel Groover, Jack Haney, Yaffa Hughes, Paul Marshall, Lynn Ehrlich McCauley, Larry Mendelson, Fred Michaels, Alan Miller, Bruce Morgan, Jeff Palmer, Ben Reback, Esther Richmond, Howard Romanoff, Neil Romanoff, Ivan Rosenberg, Miles Sen, Mike Silverman, Henry Sommerveld, Rosina Spitzer, Terry Taylor, Diana Vera, Eitan Wolf. And if you're at home and like to name someone aloud, why don't you do so? Write it in the chat if you're on Facebook or on YouTube, or say it out loud at this time. Shema Kolenu, hear our prayer. Hear our voice, God, and be near to all who call upon you. Be especially with those who are suffering from the coronavirus, and grant to all the doctors and nurses and caretakers and respiratory therapists and all those in the helping fields, grant them strength and fortitude in these days of the pandemic. Grant refuat nefesh, refuat guf, the healing of spirit and body, and teach us to be your messengers of love and kindness and blessing. Baruch atah Adonai rofei cholim. Praised are you, God, who heals the sick. And we all say together, Amen.
Amen. El na refana lanu. El na refana lanu. Dear God of our ancestors, help us renew our faith. Grant us a perfect healing. Bring peace to all our days. El na refana lanu. Restore strength of body, help clarify our minds, refresh our tired spirits, rejuvenate our light. El na refana lanu. El na refana lanu. Shabbat Shalom. What can we say in the wake of destruction? What can we tell one another amid existential crisis? What words can we even hear that will make things feel okay when the world around us is crumbling? Of course, you might think I'm asking these questions after another week of awful headlines here in our country. Threats to democracy itself, terrible economic indicators, and the ongoing tragedy of thousands of people dying from the coronavirus. But these questions are actually the very same questions that our ancestors asked in the wake of Tisha B'Av, our national Jewish day of mourning that we observed this week, as Rabbi Egger shared earlier. Now, like many Reformed Jews, both today and throughout the history of our movement, I have to admit I struggle with what the observance of Tisha B'Av means to me. In my years growing up at summer camp and working on staff, it was merely a day observed with a few sad songs and, well, an awkward, quiet bonfire. Yes, we learned about the temples, the first and the second temple. We learned about some of the countless tragedies marked on the somber day. But it was always difficult for me to think of those things as personal, and even to really think of them as sad. After all, as Reformed Jews, we explicitly do not pray for the third temple to be rebuilt. But this year, I imagine that our ancestors' experience of watching the temple fall to the ground was really not all that different from the way we might feel right now as we watch our world. And so I return to that question that our prophetic and our rabbinic forebears wondered: what words can we offer in this uniquely challenging moment? Now, of course, you might think, aha, Rabbi, it must be words of Torah. And of course, it's true that our weekly portion, Va'et Hanan, has quite a number of incredible highlights. As Rabbi Egger shared, they include the Shema, but they also include a rerun of the Ten Commandments, in case you missed them back in Exodus. And there's also a favorite verse of mine here, which teaches us, do what is right and good in the eyes of the Eternal One, that it may go well with you. It's a beautiful principle we can apply to so many situations. But it wasn't the words of this Torah portion, or any other Torah portion, that our ancestors used to answer that question. What difference can my words make when our world is falling apart? You see, instead, the answer to those questions comes in this week's Haftarah from Isaiah chapter 40, where the prophet begins, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, comfort my people, comfort them, says your God. Speak to the heart of Jerusalem and say to her, that which she has received from the hand of the Eternal is more than enough punishment for her sins. You see, our ancestors understood the destruction of the temple as a direct punishment from God, retribution for the sins, for all the ways they did not keep the covenant, for all the ways that the prophet Isaiah, in last week's Haftarah, as Rabbi Egger taught last week for those of you who were here with us online, all the ways that we have corrupted our society and failed to do justice and love mercy. But today, of course, we probably don't understand all the ills of our world, the coronavirus or any other plague, human-made or natural, to be a result of divine anger and intervention. And nevertheless, you may still feel afflicted by the harshness of life in this moment. You may still feel punished by the reality of the despair and the destruction that is all around us. You may feel like you're just getting by. And so the prophet speaks to us in our time too. Comfort my people. Comfort them, says your God. Comfort and consolation. Those are what our words can bring. And as Rabbi Egger mentioned, this Shabbat even has that special name. It is Shabbat Nachamu, based on that word Nachamu, comfort. It's a command, comfort one another. And yet the beautiful poetry of this passage continues. We hear words of hope. We hear that God will be with us on our path through the wilderness, calling out from the desert, lifting us up from our despair. We even hear words that try to offer us some perspective. The prophet reminds us how small we human beings are compared to our Creator. The prophet teaches, all flesh is like grass, As grass withers and flowers fade when God's breath breezes by, so do we in the eyes of our Creator. And yet, even still, even with a word that might make us feel small, the prophet comforts us, telling us that God will still take us in, take us back, care for us like a shepherd tends to her flock. Like a shepherd tends to her flock. So particularly this year, I am taking comfort and finding hope in this poetry. Make no mistake about it, my friends, our world continues to be in crisis. But we can be that source of comfort for one another. We too can clear a path through the wilderness and help reveal God's presence in the world. It's what we do as a people, as we build forward and as we come together. We can be part of bringing that goodness and kindness, that caring and compassion and comfort back to the world, even in this time of such sadness. Of course, I think the first way we do that is by following the prophet's lead. We speak to one another's heart. We use words of solace and hope. Comfort them. Comfort each other. When we gather here online, we're bringing comfort to one another, offering our presence even with a comment or a like. When you put on your mask and you go sit 10 feet away from your friend in their yard, you are a source of comfort and connection. When you send a text message, when we make phone calls, we're turning words into bridges. Bridges that span the distance of our physical distancing in this wilderness of stay at home. Even with simple smile or a thumbs up here on Zoom, you are living out the words of the prophet. Comfort them. And so as our people begin our ascent from the depths of our mourning and pain to the renewal of our new year at Rosh Hashanah in 7 weeks, we remember. We remember and we call each other to action because we can and we must continue to offer our presence and our comforting words to each other. So I pray that this Shabbat Nachamu, this Shabbat of comfort, calls us to those simplest of actions that we can take, even in the midst of sadness and struggle, to be that source of comfort and kindness and love in this world. I know I need your words of comfort, and I hope to keep bringing them to you each week and each time we gather here online. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for those words. Beautiful, beautiful pearls of comfort, Rabbi. It's my honor and privilege to invite in our board member, Rebecca Schurz, to offer words of welcome. Rebecca, if you want to turn on your camera and turn on your sound, we'll welcome you in at this time.
Shabbat Shalom. So yes, I'm Rebecca Schurz, a member of the Board of Trustees, and on behalf of Congregation Kol Ami of West Hollywood, I really do want to welcome you to the online Shabbat services, and we're very glad that you are joining us for this. Thank you also, Rabbi Chaikin, thank you for those thoughtful words and just positioning that so beautifully to give us something positive from some of the darker images in our tradition. So, this week we have another week full of exciting programming. So I want to take you through some of the highlights that we have this week and the opportunities there are to stay connected with the congregation. The details, the links, the registration information, you'll be able to find all of that on our website, kol-ami.org/calendar. You can also find the full events listing on the Facebook page. But here right now, we just want to run through some of those highlights for this week. Tomorrow, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time, join Rabbi Eger and Rabbi Chaikin for the Shabbat Awakening worship services. On Sunday, August 2nd, 4 p.m. Join Temple member Glenn Rosebaum for the next instalment of his popular Broadway series, Broadway Showstoppers. And this instalment is From My Fair Lady to La Cage aux Folies. I've joined for one, and it is a great time on a Sunday afternoon. On Wednesday, August 5th at 12:30, Mark Perchin will be hosting another round of Zoom Prov, the online Zoom improv games. And I'm assured that experience is not required, just a willingness to engage and have fun. On Thursday, August 6th, in the morning at 9:30, Rabbi Chaikin will be leading the morning music and mindfulness session. Next Friday, in the morning before the Shabbat evening services, at 11 a.m., join Rabbi Eger for the Elu discussion as she explores through the text of our tradition the question, okay, where are you? The question that God asked of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And then looking ahead to next Sunday, August 9th at 4 p.m, we're delighted to welcome home to Kol Ami the Mason family for a documentary film talkback. We're inviting you to watch the film Circus of Books on Netflix, and then join us next Sunday for a discussion with the filmmaker Rachel Mason, who made the documentary about her parents, friends of the congregation, Karen and Barry Mason. It's really worth watching that movie. So definitely I would recommend log on to Netflix, have a watch. You're bound to learn something, and I should be joining. It'll be fascinating to hear what Rachel has to say about it. Moving on from events, please don't forget about membership renewals. It's the time of year to make your membership commitment to Kol Ami for the coming year. If you're not yet a member of the Kol Ami community, but would like to become a supporter and sustainer of the sacred community, all the information is available on our website, kol-ami.org/membership. Again, thank you all for joining our services tonight. Please feel welcome to join us afterwards for the virtual Oneg. If you go to the website, you can find the link to register to be able to join the Oneg. And through these difficult times, staying connected as a congregation and as a community is more important than ever. So please do consider visiting the website, kol-ami.org. And while you're there, consider a gift to support the continued streaming of our worship and many of these free programs. We can't do it without you. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Well, we turn to page 591 for the Aleinu now. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity, and cause light to go forth all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with joy, of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. As we do at each of our services when we gather, we remember those who died at this season in years past, and we mark at our congregation the yortzites this week of Seymour Mason, father of Barry Mason, Arthur Altschul, father of John Altschul, Henry Kummer, father of Barry Kummer, Herbert Zapolian, grandfather of Cheryl Gold, Joseph Weinstock, grandfather of Stephen Weiss, and Gussie Weinstock, grandmother of Stephen Weiss, Michael Sullivan, former partner of Martin Frank, Sidney Saltzman, grandfather of Cantor Saltzman, Anne Young Blackburn, mother of Jerry De Silva, Anna Wortman, grandmother of Richard Wortman, Betty Greenspan, great-aunt of Alan Weisbart, Sarah Levine, aunt of Karen Seitman, Yetzilava Churkina, grandmother of Lilia Lurkowski, Murray Starr, friend of John Altschul, Mark Linsman, brother-in-law of Stephen Reisman, Rob Eichberg, friend of Peter Mackler, Charlie Warmbrand, uncle of Glenn Rosenblum, Stanislava Koshman, mother of Vitaly Koshman, Rita Nortman, mother of Marcy Nortman, and friend of Ruth Williams. And we are reciting Kaddish this year for Claire Finkel, Gilbert Weinbar, Sarah Rivka Seltzer, Dave Udelhoffen, Anne-Marie Giambruno, Pedro Santiago, Devona Lewis, Leonard Irving Schurz, Betty Perry, Jennifer Bachner, David Slobodian, Vivi Davidson, Azkira Milchan, Claire Cohen, Shel Rosenthal, Boris Miller, Chris Jacobs, Audrey Weiss, Ray Lopez, Bill Cacol, Thomas Nathan, Robert Barnett, Israel Irving Margolin, Nina Ross, Michael Finelli, Patricia D'Amico, Leonard Mark Leibovitz, Rabbi Richard Levitin, Murray Levine, Luke Thornton, Chantal Legg Bird, Edward Wolf Salzberg, Lenny Schulman, Rebecca Alexander, Alex Lickvack, Robert Kent, Orlando Castorina, Kenneth Lee Kaufman, Shirley Glantz, and we note the sadness, the death of Carol Reback, mother of our board member Andrew Reback and sister-in-law of member Kathy Reback. And of course, we join our prayers with those of our nation as we mourn and remember Congressman John Lewis. There are others that you would like to remember at this time. If you want to write their name in the chat on Facebook or YouTube, or say it aloud the name of a loved one, and then we'll join together in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. We join together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha barichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'kol yishvei tevel, v'yimru amen. May the one who teaches peace help us to make peace here on earth with one another, and grant eternal peace to those who die, and let us all say together, Amen.
Amen. We'll close tonight on page 652. These are words and music of Arik Einstein and Mickey Gavrielov, the Israeli singing duo. They sang Ani ve'ata, you and I, neshaneh et ha'olam, we will change the world. And for me, it's a song that brings comfort, because it's a reminder that we can do it together. That even though it may be difficult, and it says that exactly, Yihiyeh lanu ra, there will be difficulty. Ein davar. It's not so bad. We can do it. Ani ve'ata nishaneh et ha'olam, Ani ve'ata az yavo kfar kulam, amru et ze kodem lefanai, ze lo mishaneh. Ani ve'ata nishaneh et ha'olam, Ani ve'ata ninaseh מההתחלה. יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר, זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם, לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אמרו את זה קודם, לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
May we have offered words of comfort to one another. We've been called to speak to one another's hearts, and speak to one another's souls, and speak to one another's minds. Let us use our words bravely and wisely, and let us use our hands to bring that comfort and that peace and justice into the world. And as we enter into this Shabbat, may we be renewed and refreshed and restored to help and then go out when Shabbat is over and make this world the world that we truly can imagine, the world of wholeness and shalom. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos, everyone. Thank you for being here with us at this sacred time of Shabbat, and we look forward to welcoming you at our virtual Oneg, which is in a Zoom room, and you can find that on our website at kol-ami.org. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos, everyone.